Good evening. I'd like to call to order this regular meeting of the Round Lake Area Board of Education on June 16th, 2025 at 7:01 p.m. If I can get started first with a roll call, please.
Mr. Tavera?
Here.
Mrs. Negretti McGinley?
Here.
Mr. Jewett?
Here.
Mrs. Larson?
Here.
Mr. Francisco?
Here.
Miss Lee?
Here.
All right, and first up is our Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, can we get started with a motion to approve the meeting agenda as listed?
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Ms. Lee, seconded by Mr. Jewett. Roll call, please.
Mr. Tavera?
Yes.
Mrs. Negretti McGinley?
Yes.
Mr. Jewett?
Yeah.
Mrs. Larson?
Yes.
Mr. Francisco?
Yes.
Miss Lee?
Yes.
Motion carries. We have an approved agenda, and first up on that is the special recognition and presentations. And Mrs. Holtman will be presenting our recognition for our Eagle Scout Awards.
Hi, thank you for giving me the opportunity to present. I wanted to let you know that we have 2 active troops in the Round Lake area. Troop 275B are boys, and actually we celebrate our 50th anniversary this year in the Round Lake area. And then we also have Troop 2019G for girls, and we are celebrating our 6th year. Actually, our troop is one of the founding troops for girls to be part of the BSA program. I want to introduce the Scoutmaster, Jesus Grifaldo for Troop 275. And then we also have Scoutmaster Mrs. Celia Martinez. Come on, come on. As you all know, nobody does this alone. So with the support of both of them and their support of the Scouts, we've been able to do many projects in the Round Lake area that have ranged from, let's see, we have Gaga ball pits, and we have trails and a lot of different opportunities, Shagbark Park. We've gone and done things for schools, park district, police departments, the American Legion. So even though we may not be a large group, we are a very, very active group in the Round Lake area. So with that, I'm actually going to turn it over to our Eagle Scouts. I'm going to let each one step forward, introduce themselves, say a little bit about their project. And I'm going to, let's see, first one I'm going to call forward will be Sarah Valdivia from Troop 2019.
Hi, my name is Sarah Valdivia. I'm from 2019. For my project, I did a Gaga ball pit at the Park District. It's located in the back of the school, next to the district next to the skate park. There's also a big open field there, so there, you can pass when you pass by the street. You can also see it. Well, they kind of sort of reached out to me, and I said, of course, we'll make it possible, and we'll do it for you guys. They mainly wanted it for their summer camp, as they have in the summer for the Park District. But it's also open to the community, and I've passed by there and I've seen other people have access to it. So, yeah, thank you.
You got to go ahead and hold the button and then just hold it in there. Yep.
Hello, I'm Giovanni Martinez, and My Eagle project was making a patio for the bridge. Maybe you guys heard of that by Lake Region Bible Church on Washington and Cedar Lake. Like just so that they can have like a place to hang out and do like barbecues and stuff, and it would be like a help to the kids there that like go over the summer. So yeah.
Hello, my name is Carlos Ochoa. I'm from 2275. My project was an American flag display that I placed next to a Veterans Memorial Park. It consists of 13 boxes, and each box consists of different folds of the American flag, just explaining what each fold means.
Hello. My name is Ruben Martinez. I did a project for St. Joseph Catholic Church, and what I did was a tree project where I took down 7 trees that were rotten and planted 2 new ones. And the beneficiary I helped was Father Michael in St. Joseph Project.
Good evening. My name is Aldo Vega. My project was at Beach Elementary, and it was about how the redistricting where they're going like kindergarten through 2nd grade and 3rd through 5th grade in schools, and Beach still uses those outside classrooms. And I got the heads up from Mr. Rafaldo saying like the outside classrooms, they look like run down, the paint's like gone. So I replaced the boards, repainted them, and I just made it look nice.
Good evening. My name is Andrea Garcia Perez, and I'm from Troop 2019. My project was creating 3 beautiful benches and 1 side table for my beneficiary, Father Mike, in the church St. Joseph. I did this project for St. Joseph for all the youth groups that go there, and just for the overall community, so they have a place to have places to sit and enjoy a fire. I do attend St. Joseph every Sunday, so I wanted to just personally thank them and give them a gift to show my gratitude. And I also want to thank everyone here for giving us the honor of recognizing all our hard work and dedication we've all put into this organization. Thank you, and have a good rest of your evening.
Hi, my name is Kimberly Trujillo from Troop 2019. I chose to give back to the community by helping the Avon Township. They help provide basic necessities for Round Lake citizens, but we're struggling with the organization of it. So me and my beneficiary, Michelle Bauman, came up with a plan to make it more accessible to the people and volunteers who benefit from this program. I've spoken with Miss Bauman recently, and she expressed her gratitude and how much it has helped.
And one scout that is not here this evening is Trinity Underwood. And her project was, they were display cases for the VFW. And what this project entailed was actually going back into their archives and sorting those archives out, identifying a few different conflicts that took place, and then sorting some bookcases with items in relation to those conflicts. And then they also had an opportunity to sort out different items that they had, a display case for hats and different uniform opportunities and paraphernalia that had to do with different items. So she did that at the VFW in Antioch. So I didn't want to leave her out even though she's not here. And I'd like to thank the school board for actually giving us the opportunity to present and letting you hear all the great things that we're doing in the Round Lake community. And the scouts know when I say, but wait, there's more.
Just hold the button in the front there. Yep.
My name is Andy Garcia from Troop 275, and my eco project was doing benches for the Beach Elementary School. So I did 2 picnic tables and I restored 3 benches that they did. And what we did was, well, the reason for that was because I looked at how the benches were before, and now since the kids were coming in for the new season, I wanted to make sure they were all safe for that season. For nothing can go wrong. Make sure they have somewhere to rest, talk, and I went to that school before, so it really meant something to me. So yeah, all I did was planned out the whole project, did the logos for the new logo they came out with. Yeah, it was really fun. I don't know, it just meant a lot to me.
Yeah.
Always great to see the amazing work of the students, families, and the community here in the Round Lake area. All right, next up, we will go to the consent agenda.
Thank you. I need a motion to approve the consent agenda for the following items. The accounts payable report for $1,204,084.34. The previous motions report for $293,913.80. The April and May 2025 Treasurers Report, the April and May 2025 P-Card Report, and the June 16th, 2025 Employment Report.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Tavera, seconded by Mr. Jewett. Roll call, please.
Mr. Tavera,
Yes.
Mrs. Negretti McGinley,
Yes.
Mr. Jewett,
Yeah.
Mrs. Larson,
Yes.
Mr. Francisco,
Yes.
Miss Lee,
Yes.
Motion carries. And that will bring us to the introduction of administration.
Good evening. I am pleased to announce, well, first of all, I'm Trina Metz, principal at Beach, but I am pleased to announce our new assistant principal, Tyler Smith, who will be joining our leadership team this school year. Mr. Smith comes to us from Jack London Middle School, where he currently serves as an assistant principal. With a strong background in both instruction and school culture, Mr. Smith brings a wealth of experience to our district. Before serving as an assistant principal, he worked as an instructional coach, specializing in technology integration, and helped teachers to strengthen their instructional practices to improve student outcomes. He also has served as a dean of school culture, where they led efforts to build positive, inclusive, and engaging school environments for all students. In addition to his leadership experience, Mr. Smith began his career as a music teacher, a role that has allowed him to continue to be creative and connect with students from diverse backgrounds. We are excited to welcome Mr. Smith to our team and confident that his passion for education, commitment to equity, and broad leadership experience will be a tremendous asset to the Round Lake community.
I want to thank everybody for this opportunity. I really appreciate being here in this district that's so lively, that is so family oriented, that is so part of this community, and I'm excited to be here. Thank you, board, for this opportunity. Thank you, Superintendent Mendoza. Thank you, Ms. Metz. And thank you, everybody here. Thank you. And a special thank you to the 2 Eagle Scouts who did some stuff at Beach Elementary. I know it's a lot of work. My youngest brother was an Eagle Scout, so I know not only is it a lot of work, but a lot of paperwork too. All right. Thank you, everybody.
All right.
Francisco, I just wanted to interrupt quickly. All of the scouts and families, you're welcome to stay for as long as you'd like, but you don't have to. So if your family's here, it's certainly a nice night out, but you don't have to stay for the formal presentations. So I just wanted to say that to the scouts out there. So
I'm sure Mr. Karolzak really appreciated that, right? And speaking of that, then I'm just go ahead and turn it right over to Mr. Karolzak with the high school winter season update.
Awesome. Thank you, Mr. Francisco. Yeah, you guys should run while you can. Go for it. What a tough act to follow. Holy cow. That was really, really cool. I will do my best. I'm going to give them a sec.
Excuse me, I'm looking at the agenda, and I don't see the recognition.
The agenda was updated with recognition. If you go to the electronic was updated. The athlete recognition, unfortunately, they were unable to be here, so that's going to be moved to a later board meeting. The printed ones on the table were the old version, and
I saw Will, I was assuming he was getting recognized again.
He's actually not here for that for once, believe it or not. No,
but a little different. So
I brought reinforcements this time around. So we're gonna get some. I'm gonna get some help here from some of our student athletes in just a moment. But for the first 13 slides or so, you're stuck with me. It's my pleasure, as always, to be here and to give you a quarterly update on our past 24-25 winter athletics season. And I have to start off right away with an apology. We have a typo on that chart that because my lazy bones went on vacation last week, we were not able to correct it before it got submitted to the board. So I apologize for that. We had originally 82 students register for wrestling. We did not have 82 wrestlers on the boys wrestling team in 2022-23. Couple of numbers that need to be corrected there. Boys wrestling 22-23 should say 35. Girls wrestling 22-23 should say 11. for a total of 180 winter sport athletes in 2022-23. I apologize for the oversight. But it actually, I think, is a testament to, I can verify the accuracy of the numbers for the last 2 years. 22-23 was my first year here, and we're in the process of cleaning up just some of our internal systems for registration, roster, monitoring, and maintenance. And my secretary, Ms. Ramirez, did catch that, but not in time to get it correct in the board presentation, so I apologize for that. But as you can see, numbers holding steady across sports, and that is especially impressive in the last 2 years, where there has been a significant increase in expectations for our athletes and the level of accountability that our winter sport coaches are holding them to. Being a varsity athlete in 2024-2025 demands a lot more of our student athletes than it did 3 or 4 years ago. In terms of the amount of film we ask them to watch, the amount of time we ask them to spend in the weight room. You'll see in a couple of slides some of the service leadership that they've done at the elementary schools and in our community. The fact that our retention rates have been fantastic the last 3 years, considering we've been upping the game in terms of what we ask of them. It's a credit to our coaches, credit to the culture that we're building, but most importantly, it's a credit to our student athletes. So I mentioned outreach and partnerships. I just broke this down by program. This is not an all-inclusive list. I was just trying to fit it all in one slide. But some of the highlights by program based on feedback from the head coaches. Our boys basketball team hosted a elementary and middle school clinic this year and have started a boys feeder program, which did not exist prior to Coach Hansa taking over as head coach 2 seasons ago. And he said that one of his personal highlights, there's a picture of it up there, was the joint practice they held with our allied basketball team this year. He said it was one of the highlights not only for him, but for the team as well. Girls basketball program hosted and worked a tournament for our girls feeder programs, which have grown astronomically in the last 3 years. They also volunteered at Hallis Hall, making care packages for families who were at the Ronald McDonald House. Girls basketball has really kind of been the tip of the sword in terms of service leadership in our community. They also make gingerbread houses at one of our elementary schools each year with our student athletes. They just recently, I do have the care packages on there. So I could have put a lot more up there for girls basketball. We have 2 members of our girls basketball program here with us today. Oh, one of my favorites, and there's actually a picture on the first slide. I'm going to back up. You can see Justice Bills, who's here in that middle photo. We did an autograph night for future Panthers. We had a bunch of glossy team photos blown up, and then after the game, the girls signed. And there was a line out the door. They were so excited. You would have thought the Beatles were signing autographs or something. Do you guys know who the Beatles are? Okay, good. So just like I said, really, really proud that more and more part of our DNA, part of our identity is service leadership in our community. Girls bowling, we had an interesting situation this year where right up until the season started, both of our bowling coaches were on FMLA, and it led to some plans that we had in place that we weren't able to execute. But Coach Arias is already well down the road planning a number of community outreach and service initiatives for the girls bowling program this upcoming year. They plan to do a partner bowling night with our allied bowling team, but they also want to host a teacher bowling night in conjunction with one of their matches or practices. So we're really excited about that. That planning is already going on. This might be one of my favorites. Our cheer team this year baked holiday cookies and went caroling to all the fire departments in the Round Lake area, and which I thought was just really, really cool. The lighting of that photo isn't great, but that's a shot of our cheer team caroling outside of one of the fire departments in the lower right-hand corner there. So again, just really proud of our kids wanting to do extra and changing what it means to be a Round Lake athlete, and understanding that includes a responsibility to not only the people who went before you, but the kids who are going to follow after you, and a responsibility to our community. Our boys and girls wrestling programs definitely don't fall short in these categories. Hosted a middle school dual meet this year here. Hosted the middle school conference wrestling meet, which was a fantastic opportunity for our middle school wrestlers at Round Lake Middle and McGee. In conjunction with our senior night, we hosted a duel for the Junior Panther feeder program. They also hosted separate clinics for middle school wrestlers and coaches, so that we can have more vertical integration and alignment between our terminology and the skills that we're teaching and how we teach them with our middle schools and the Junior Panther feeder program. So Coach Files and Coach Conkiao have done a fantastic job in that area. So let's switch gears here and focus a little bit more specifically on some of our programs and their highlights this year. First, our boys basketball team. More wins at every level of the program than the previous year, which had more wins at every level in the program than the year before that. So we're trending in the right direction there. We did have a all-conference selection. He also earned Jaquan Jamerson as a sophomore, was all-conference, and also earned all Lake County honors. As I mentioned before in the outreach, the start of a feeder program and youth clinic. We did have 2 varsity players earn academic all-conference honors. Finished with winning records at the lower levels, and perhaps if I had to rank them, this is tough because everyone has displayed a significantly more focused commitment to the weight room as part of their program. But the boys basketball program, in terms of the amount of growth in making it part of how we do things, I wanted to make sure that I gave credit to Coach Hansa and his staff for that. Moving on to girls basketball. 32 wins as a program this year, the various 3 levels. Considering how young we were, that points in a very good direction. Emma Franks, a freshman, earned all-conference and honorable mention all-area. Our feeder program, which when I got here 3 years ago, had 1 level and was about 50-50 kids coming here and kids going to Grant. Is now run by a Round Lake alum who works as a teacher in our district, and we have 5 separate teams of all kids who are going to be Round Lake Panthers in the future. And you build your athletic programs from your feeders. So phenomenal job by Coach Henning and her staff. To grow that program at the lower levels. One of the highlights for the team this year, I think they hosted and ran and officiated a tournament for feeders, and had some funny photos of some of our girls working scores tables and stuff, and they look like they're having the time of their lives. But no, again, just recognizing how important that it is. They're willing to give up a Saturday when they don't have any commitments to help grow the future of the program. Really proud of the culture of the girls basketball program. Also, 2 academic all-conference athletes with girls basketball. Girls bowling, that first one, Coach Arias specifically asked me to include that as one of the highlights for the girls bowling program this year. She felt that the addition of weight training for our bowling team and mental performance training as part of our Panther Peak Performance every Mondays, she felt were very, very impactful in a positive way on the culture of the program. Incorporation of film study and individualized goal setting, addition of restorative circles and other culture building activities, and every athlete increased their pin average by multiple pins, many by double digits over the course of the season, and 4 academic all-conference athletes. We also hosted the conference championship for girls bowling and an IHSA bowling regional this year. So 2 nice feathers in the cap of our bowling program. Cheer. Again, additional weight training and mental performance training was one of the things that Coach Larson and Coach Spencer highlighted. In addition of restorative circles and other culture building. That's not a typo. That's not me copying and pasting from one slide to another. Coach Arias is not a first-time head coach, but a relatively new head coach. And Coach Larson just finished her first year as the varsity head coach. And both commented more than once how much this had a positive impact on the culture of their program. We finished our first year of the addition of mandatory tumbling, which resulted in higher difficulty levels, increased scores from years past. I can't tell you how many people stopped me at the conference tournament or the sectional to say, the growth in your team is just, they were just flabbergasted at how much more athletic our girls were, and just the growth of the program. So we're really, really excited for the future of Round Lake Cheer. And while they're doing that, they're still getting it done in the classroom. They were our leader for all winter sports with 5 academic all-conference athletes in the cheer program. So that's a huge accomplishment. All right, our boys wrestling program, as I mentioned, there has already been very strong community outreach since Coach Filas has taken over, but that increased this year. They did a youth clinic over the Martin Luther King holiday. As I mentioned, Junior Panthers dual meet. The really cool part about that was we did it on our senior night. And so these elementary school kids, it was a very cool sort of full circle moment for them to be wrestling in the high school for the first time and then getting to see a bunch of our seniors wrestling at the high school for the last time in their career. So, and that was Coach's idea, and this is the second year we've done it that way and just absolutely love it. First state finalist in 29 years, Will Cole, sitting right here behind me. We also had Edwin Chavaria earned All-County, and the really cool thing was to do it, he beat 2 people who beat him earlier in the year. And so it was kind of a running joke that day, like, oh, Chavaria's on his revenge tour. But if any of you have ever been in a sport like wrestling where there's nowhere to hide, there's no excuses, it's just you and your opponent on the mat, to be able to do that is a big deal. And yeah, it's Emilio. What did I say? Oh, sorry, Emilio Chavarria. I know that. You can spot him from a mile away with that hair. But does he still have it dyed? Yeah. But anyways, Emilio. Sorry. Thank you, Will. So just to overcome the potential mental block there of an opponent, not one opponent who's beaten you before, but 2, really, really proud of him. And proud of the fact that the program makes those sorts of things a priority. I think, where you spend your time, where you spend your focus shows what your priorities are. And the fact that having a growth mindset is so important to our coaches, and that they make it a priority to teach that to our student athletes makes me extremely proud to be their athletic director. I'm just going to brag on Will some more here. Will joined the 100 Win Club this year. He was one of 4 all-conference wrestlers in our boys program. And if Mr. De Vera could move his head just a little bit, we also had 1 academic all-conference wrestler in the boys program. So, again, a very successful year. On the girls' side, they hosted the IHSA Regional for the 2nd time and moved up from our 6th place finish a year ago to finish 2nd as a team. We had 4 sectional qualifiers. 2 of them would go on to become state qualifiers. We also had the first 2 female regional champions in school history, Brianna Perez and Riley Conchiao. They had a winning dual meet record for the first time since we inaugurated the girls program. Ireland McCain also joined the 100 Win Club, and Riley Conchiao was a state medalist, finishing 4th. We had 4 all-conference wrestlers and 4 academic all-conference wrestlers in the girls program. So, and record numbers of middle and elementary school female wrestlers at our camp this past week. So the future is extremely bright for our girls wrestling program. There's a list of our winter academic all-conference athletes. Those are members of a varsity program with at least a 3.5 GPA during their season. I think it's cool when the font has to be small because there's so many of them. I believe 18 in the winter, which is more than last year. I'm going to do a couple of slides of celebrations here. Historic finishes for our wrestling programs, I already touched on that. Will was the state runner-up in the heavyweight class. Riley Conkiel with the highest finish in the girls' state finals in the history of our program. And she's coming back for one more year. For me personally, the service leadership of all of our winter programs and the fact that the coaches are picking each other's brains, they're talking to their colleagues at other schools, trying to find neat ways to, and they're getting feedback from our kids, from our athletes. What do they want to do? And putting the onus on them. So I'm extremely proud of that. We hosted, oh boy, 6 IHSA regionals this year. Girls volleyball, girls flag football, girls bowling, girls basketball, girls wrestling, and girls track and field sectional. So, the common theme there from all of those, now I stuck just to the winter here because it is the winter report, but the feedback that we got from visiting parents, visiting administrators, officials, was extremely positive. I really enjoy hosting these events because 1, we get our athletes a home contest during the playoffs, but 2, it's an opportunity to show off our school, our staff, our kids, and our community. There's a quote up there from outgoing Stevenson High School athletic director Trish Bethauser. She emailed this to me the week after wrestling regionals. Ethan, I made it out to the regional today, and I wanted you to know how incredibly impressed I was with you and the entire Panthers staff. What an amazing setup for coaches, athletes, and spectators. Everyone was so friendly and helpful, and they obviously take a great deal of pride in being able to show off their school. Thank you for hosting our team and making this a great experience. And I've actually got more glowing praise than that from officials from our girls volleyball and girls flag football in the fall, but this is the winter sports one. So the feedback we got from people who were at the middle school track and field sectional that we helped McGee host. Randy Obrumt, who's in the Hall of Fame for high school track and field, he was the announcer. Randy said it's the best sectional high school or middle school he's ever been to in the last 30 years. That's high praise coming from that guy. But I digress. We'll stick to the winter. I'll tell you about that in next month. So lots of opportunities to show off our school and our community this winter. And then the growth of Panther Peak Performance, which I'll remind you, is our focus on mental skills training throughout the entire school year. Unless there was a holiday or a weird schedule, we met at 3:25 every Monday. All in-sport athletes and in-sport coaches were required to attend, but it was open to everyone. And I just personally, one of the things that I thought was really cool was athletes who were not in season who chose to continue to attend. And to give you more of a first-hand perspective on the positive impact that peak performance training has had on our athletes this year, I asked several of our athletes to come and just share a little bit of their experience. So I'm going to bring them up now, and they're going to share their name, year in school, sports they play, and some ways that peak performance has helped them. So come on up, you guys.
Hello, my name is William Cole, for those of you who don't know me. I recently graduated this year, 2025. But for the last 4 years, I have been a three-sport athlete, playing both football, wrestling, and I switched from track and field halfway to boys volleyball. Um, for this past year, I've been to just about every peak performance, whether it was Monday, Tuesday, Friday, the next day, and every lesson that he has given us has helped me in some way, whether it was helping my teammates who didn't go catch up. It helped me be a leader for both football, wrestling, and volleyball. It helped me stay calm for tests or facing like past traumas with an opponent that beat me 4 times. Uh, it meant a lot seeing him up there trying something new, which gave me the courage to try new things, like Ghostlight Reader, Theater. I did that for the past few years. But it's nice to see an adult, a leader in the community, teaching us how to lead our teams and community with that too. So I'm gonna pass it off to Jackson.
Hey, my name is Jackson Young. I have also recently graduated this spring. I played, I competed in track and cross country for 3 years since sophomore year. Panther Peak performance is something that I originally was like, oh, this is interesting. I wonder how this is going to play. And then I was like, as time went on, I was like, I don't see people taking this as seriously as I wanted to, because I'm learning a lot about how this is actually going to help with, especially with running, a very mentally challenging sport. So I took it upon me as a leader in my sport to make sure everyone got down and focused. And once everyone got the message, the performances started getting better by every week. And the improvement I've seen in such a short amount of time is astronomical. And I think the best way that has helped everyone is keep their head out of the gutters of being negative going into competition, and like going into it all positive. Won't name names. There's just one team I had. He would always like make sure that everyone was extremely hyped and like excited and jumping before they had raced. It was the best thing I've seen. And honestly, this program that has been new has helped people in so many ways and helped others accomplish things that they never could have thought, like me. But that's enough for me. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Justice Bills. I'm going to be a senior this fall, and I play flag football, basketball, and track and field. Some ways that Panther Peak has helped me, like during flag football, we almost made it to state. I don't know what, it was our last game. We played Carmel, and everybody was upset about it, and you could just tell by the way we were playing on the field. Carmel wasn't up by much, but I still tried to encourage my team, and even in basketball, like when we're down, like it's okay, we could still keep going and still keep trying. And the same way, like Jackson said, like running is a mental sport, so I just try to tell myself like I can keep going, I got this, and yeah.
Hi, my name is Piper Berry. I will be a sophomore next year, and I play varsity basketball and softball. And one way that PPR performance has helped me in life is when I'm giving class presentations, I tend to have a shaky voice and my heart beats really fast. So using box breathing method has really helped me be able to talk longer and more comfortably. And also in sports, I've used Well Better House to improve as a leader. Thank you.
Yes. Yes, you can sit down. I did not ask them to say nice things about me, so thank you for that. Yeah, Piper, you didn't seem like a nervous public speaker at all right now. That was okay, outstanding. So thank you to all 4 of you for being willing to share and for your leadership. And Jackson and Will, good luck next fall. And yeah, that's, oh, you know what? I know it's the winter quarterly report, but I got some really cool news today that I thought what better place to share it. As a freshman, Piper Berry was selected to the Illinois High School Class 4A. That's the largest class, all-state team for softball. And we found that out today. So congratulations, Piper. Making the all-state team as a freshman is no small feat. So really excited for her and for the program. I will say thank you and take any questions that you guys have now.
Okay, I guess I'll start. First, I wanted to mention about peak performance because you invited the board at one point, and I did take advantage of that invite. So I'm hoping it's extended again if the board,
Absolutely. Yep. Every Monday, 3:25. But if you don't get there by 3:25, we don't let you in because being on time is important, right, guys?
which I was early, but I just would want, I did get to attend a session and do see how, so it's nice to hear from the athletes directly. But I do think it's a great program, and I think you can see obviously what it has done for the athletes. So thank you for letting them share that. Then I just wanted to go over cheer. I know we've had the mandatory tumbling. I know you mentioned how other schools have noticed, and I know that was one of the things when you came here I had kind of, was a pain point for me because we didn't have mandatory tumbling, and I seen what it has done to the program for the year. So I just wanted to say thank you. I'm glad that we have the mandatory tumbling. And as you know, I do go to the cheer comps, and you can see the difference in the teams. So it's really good to see.
They're just getting started. So, yeah, extremely excited and proud of the work that they put in, but can't wait to see what the next couple of years look like.
Absolutely. So again, glad that we have the mandatory tumbling now.
Hearing
All
nothing
right.
else, thank you very much.
Thank all of you. Have a great night.
All right, next up, we'll turn it over to Ms. Damp and Professional Learning Year-End Wrap-Up.
Hello, everyone. As always, it is my pleasure to talk to you about the work of the Department of Professional Learning. As you know, from this year, we had a few main focus areas. So my plan for tonight is to talk a little bit about what we've done this year, some successes and some opportunities for growth, talk a little bit about how next year is going to be devoted to leaning into those opportunities, and then check in on a few of our just stable parts of our departmental programming and see how those are evolving. So with our focus areas for this year, as you know, we had two main things that we were trying to do with our PD. Firstly, we were trying to support the new elementary curricula. We had quite a bit of SLA, ELA, iReady Math, iReady Assessment, so that was a lot to focus on for all of elementary basically. And at the secondary level, we were focusing on our PLC reset, just basically making sure that all of our teachers, no matter when they were hired, understood the expectations and had the skills for PLCs. Now with that structure, we did have some pretty striking successes. So I think the biggest one was having a clear, powerful focus at each level. So there was a year-long, sustained, day-over-day, month-over-month priority. No one had to guess what we were trying to focus on. It wasn't one-offs. It wasn't different from month to month. It was the whole year long elementary curriculum PLC reset. And I think that maintained a lot of stability throughout the changes that we had, particularly with things like partner schools and a lot of teachers teaching a different grade or being at a different building than they were before. It was kind of a stabilizing force, and it definitely united district as well as building administration behind these initiatives. So everyone was kind of rowing in the same direction all year long. It also created alignment between buildings. So for instance, at the elementary level, what we saw, because teachers participated in PD at the grade band level, All second grade teachers, no matter what building they were in that PD together in the same room. So that fostered a lot of collaboration and discussions that they might not otherwise have had as many chances to have. And additionally, we saw with the PLC reset, a lot of consistent expectations being set at buildings. So for instance, the expectations that all PLCs use a data protocol. That was just clarified and made more consistent from building to building. And then obviously having intensive year-long support for the elementary curricula in and of itself made that implementation more powerful and more consistent. And with the PLC reset, that enhanced secondary leadership piece because we had school improvement leadership team members, we had department chairs taking responsibility together with administration. And so that teacher leadership piece is key, I think, when we're implementing PLCs. Now, there were a few opportunities for growth that came across pretty clearly as a result of this year's PD. And this feedback is coming both from our internal surveys that we gave to teachers as well as from Hanover. So this is a pretty clear, these two things, wanting more choice and wanting more personalization. Now, when I look at this, to me, to be honest, it makes a lot of sense because our teachers in the past have had plenty of opportunities for choice and personalization, whether they were pulling from a catalog or choosing from a catalog of different options, whether they were deciding how they wanted to learn, whether that was in a small group or a full group. So I totally understand as a teacher these requests. And as a teacher, I would be asking, well, can I get some of those choices back and some of that personalization back? But as a leader, I will also say, I think we made the right choice for this particular year. We invested very heavily in these new curricula. We need to make sure that all teachers can implement it. And as for the PLC reset, we had over half of our secondary teachers not having gotten that initial training, and we were hearing that implementation was falling off. We needed to fix it. So this particular year, yes, PD was a lot more uniform and a lot less choice driven than it has been in the past. But I'll also say that doesn't necessarily mean it will always be like this. And it doesn't mean that we can't find creative, innovative ways to incorporate more choice and more personalization into PD. That's what I'd like to talk about next, actually. So at the secondary level, what we're focusing on for next year is making PD very customized by building and department. So for instance, the Round Lake Middle School Science Department might choose from a list of preset activities, a menu of different options, if you will, which activities are the most appropriate for them, for their specific goals for their students. And they might have something different than, say, the McGee Science Department, who might choose to do a lesson study cycle, while the middle school is choosing to do, say, an intervention make and take. But they get to work with building administration and with my department to customize the professional learning experiences that their department does from a preset list. So it will still be very PLC driven, and it will still be focused on activities that we know are important for PLCs to do. For example, analyzing assessment data and planning intervention. We know that that's key. But we're allowing for more choice in there so that teachers do have a voice in how they spend their PD time. At the elementary level, I think we're going in an incredible direction as far as choice and personalization through the introduction of instructional coaching. Now, we've actually had instructional coaching as an option for several years, so teachers could choose to work with a coach. But now, new for next year, all elementary teachers and interventionists will participate in instructional coaching as just part of their normal professional growth. So it's an expectation, and I will say our initial rollout has shown a lot of excitement about it. So we don't have to watch it in this meeting, but when you have time, I encourage you to watch 7 more minutes of me talking by clicking on that video in the green box. That's actual footage from when we rolled this out to teachers. And so in it, I explain a lot of the ways that coaching provides choice for teachers. So for instance, they get to work with their coach to make a goal that means something to them and their students. And they might choose anything from classroom routines and working with the coach in August to get routines in place, to student talk time and what the student talk time looks like in their classroom, to curricular help. Maybe they have a math unit coming up in February and they choose to have that be their coaching cycle. But the choice is baked into this type of instructional learning. In fact, I think it is easily the most choice-driven professional learning out there. So to me, this is a clear answer to that desire for more personalization in PD. And with that initial excitement, if you look at the sticker survey that we have, so right after our rollout, we had teachers just put a sticker on the poster that described their feelings about coaching, and I will spare you the counting. I counted 55% of our teachers reported being excited about the program, which makes me excited, and I think is a clear indication that people see that this will make an impact on them and on their students. So I couldn't be more excited about that. And then I just want to check in, last but not least, on a couple of our programs that are very consistent from year to year. And when we do change them, it's more to tweak and slowly evolve and grow them rather than the bigger shifts that we see in our typical PD days over the year. So new staff onboarding is one of our programs that we've had since the beginning, particularly that mentor program. Mentoring is extremely personalized in that we expect all of our mentors to meet new teachers where they're at, right? To go into classrooms and whatever their new teacher needs to talk about or focus on or do, that is what the mentor provides. So it's a very personalized form of PD, and we're seeing good results. So those data that you have up there, we are hearing from mentees that mentors are giving that very safe space and those instructional improvements that the mentees want and need. We also, those pictures are of our new teachers from this year's orientation collecting classroom starter kits. So one pain point historically for teachers has been the amount of money that you have to spend on your classroom setup initially, but we were able to get teachers some new teacher classroom kits so that it mitigated some of that, and as you can see, they're pretty happy about it. And then one final years old project that we get better and better at every single year is our Round Lake High Five. Again, when you have a moment, just click in the yellow box. This is our on-demand onboarding for when we have mid-year hires. So if we have a long-term sub, if someone misses new staff orientation, or even if someone attends new staff orientation, but it's just a lot and they need the information at their fingertips somewhere and they don't want to spend 2 hours trying to figure out how to connect to a printer and how to navigate the intranet, all that onboarding information is right there on one document for them. And that just lives permanently on our website and any teacher can access it. And we found that that's a pretty invaluable onboarding tool because it saves mentors time. Not to mention principals and just the teacher next door who might get asked for something on the fly. So we're trying to continually make things really on demand for our new teachers. I always like to include a couple of teacher voices so that you don't have to take my word for it. When you have a few moments, just watch these videos. It's a mentor and a mentee talking about their experiences in the program. And the thing that both of these videos have in common is both of them call out the collaboration. So they both specifically cite that having another person to bounce ideas off of, having a person that you know isn't judging you but is just there for you, is the thing that helps them feel good about being in Round Lake. And then finally, we always like to expand our resources. So something that you've seen before, but we're always adding to, is our PD Strategy Hub. That is exactly what it sounds like. It's a list and an amazing collection of strategies that facilitators can use if they're feeling like they're running dry when they're planning a workshop. And a lot of them include video examples of what it looks like in practice. And we are continuing to add to that along with our badging catalog. So you can see this past semester's badge catalog. We offered several badges, and that is our assistant principal at Round Lake Middle School, Becky, who completed quite a few badges over Whitby and really took advantage of that, so we gave her a nice hoodie. And then finally, something that is semi-new for this year, our evaluation and feedback calibration project. We're partnering together with HR, and we are having everyone who evaluates teachers, so that's actually a ton of people, administrators, department chairs, everyone, doing calibration to make sure that we're all implementing the Danielson framework consistently across the team. And additionally, linked into this is the feedback guidelines, because if you evaluate someone, you should be giving them good feedback. If I'm trying to judge your work, I should at least be offering some comments on how you can improve, what you might want to think of, and just generally being a good giver of feedback. So we formalized that and established what good feedback looks like across our entire team. And that project got started a couple weeks ago and is going to continue throughout next year. All right, thank you so much for your time this evening. I'm always happy to answer any questions.
Question from the board, please.
Yeah. I read your book, right, that you wrote, and in one of the sections it talked about sometimes we don't give enough time for. I actually asked you about that for new teachers to actually just get the basics, right? You had mentioned the fax machine and not the fax machine, the printer, so on and so forth. Do you feel that we do give enough space and enough time in both the beginning of the year, and then there was also that, I know that they have access to it, but do they have enough time to be able to get some of those questions answered?
So I think enough time is dependent on the teacher, because one thing we learn at new staff orientation every single year is that for some people watching the 30-second here's how to connect to the printer video, they're good. Other people have a bunch of questions, there's a domino missing in the chain somewhere and they need more time, and to me that more time is created in our mentor program checklists. So what my department has done is aligned the checklists that we do as a mentor. Every August, here's your start of year checklist, Mr. Mentor, and when you're working with your mentee, make sure they can print, make sure they have their Canvas rosters, and make sure they do, and it's a lot more focused on the mechanical things than it is on philosophy. So in August, a mentor isn't necessarily asking the teacher, tell me about your instructional philosophy. They're making sure the person just has the bricks and mortar, if you will, of the classroom in place, and then they get into some of that philosophical stuff later. And I think the speed at which the mentee is able to go through some of the mechanical onboarding things opens the door for instructional conversations. Did I answer your question?
And then also in when it talked about 80% really liked the mentoring and felt prepared. And did you get feedback on the 20 and 30% that may have been the gap?
Yes, and so that 80 and 70, that was people who gave us a 4 or a 5 out of 5. And so the remainders were 3s or 2s. I don't think we had any 1s, but I'll double check. But in terms of the feedback, yeah, they have something in the survey where they can give us open-ended feedback. And typically, without wanting to accuse anyone of dereliction of duty, I think sometimes there's like a fit issue with the mentor and the mentee, and we are just racking our brains trying to figure out how can we make sure mentors are emotionally intelligent and prepared enough and have that, I guess, level of emotional preparedness of if you're not feeling like you click with your mentee, how can you still give them a really good experience? Because that's what it comes down to at the end of the day is mentors are people and mentees are people, and sometimes if there isn't a natural click, how can you help make a click happen?
That's kind of where I was going with those mentors, because I saw that 80-20%. So if they're not clicking with someone, how do we try to rectify that so they don't go a whole year without someone who isn't really being a good mentor?
So this is where our new teacher support specialist, Mohammed, comes in. So he actually spends, I would say, quite a bit of time in those situations working with the mentor and the mentee. And sometimes we're able to resolve it, right? Sometimes there's I had a misunderstanding with this person, but we're going to work through it. And we have reassigned mentors when it can't be resolved. There have also been times when Mohammed has served as the mentor de facto if something happens where we, for whatever reason, can't meet the mentee's needs.
But we are also evaluating those mentors because maybe they're just not a good mentor.
Absolutely. So yes, we have had times where, unfortunately, someone just is not cut out to be a mentor, and then we do redirect them to something else. So I'm happy to say that it's rare, but unfortunately it has happened.
Okay, thank you.
Additional questions? Hearing none, thank you as always. Amazing presentation, and thank you for the detailed info. All right, next up, we will turn it over to special ed and Dr. Abkar.
Good evening to all of you, and thank you to Dr. Mendoza and the Board of Education for allowing us to come and provide an update on all of the work that we've done over the last year in special education. Joining me this evening is Ms. Laura Strange. She is our talented special education coordinator. But as we look to our vision for special education, the most important component of this is to advance independence and promote learning in the least restrictive environment. So these were our guiding principles as we entered into this work for this school year. So as we met with staff, gathered their feedback, and began to implement change, we all recognized that the work we did over the last school year was the most important work we've done in special education since I've been in the district, since 2014, and maybe ever. Special education is changing, the way we educate students with special needs is changing, and that was at the forefront of all of the work we did. So as we considered that, we worked with stakeholders to identify what the needs were. We received guidance from Catalyst for Educational Change to determine where we are and where we are headed. Listed on the screen are the recommendations that were provided by Catalyst for Educational Change as an outcome of the special education audit that was completed last year. So as we review the work we've done this year and the work we will do next year, each of these recommendations follow the bullet points as an indication of which recommendation they align to. So one of the most important things we did as we engaged in this work was to meet with every special education staff member to receive their feedback. So in these meetings, we told them, don't hold back. This is not necessarily a meeting where you have to be nice. We want to hear the cold, hard facts. We want to hear what the needs are, and please share that information with us. And they did in an appropriate manner. What's listed on the screen is not an exhaustive list, but they're the top 4 themes that emerged as we engaged in the work. So we heard that there was a lack of clarity in MTSS and IEP alignment. So as we vetted this out, what this meant was staff were concerned that once students moved from the MTSS process to an IEP or to special education services, that they were going to receive less services and less interventions. We also heard, as students exited special education, how are those students going to navigate the MTSS triangle as they exit special education? So we worked collaboratively with MTSS leadership for the district to identify those processes and what that would look like. So we developed a guidebook for staff that will be implemented next school year so they know as a student exits special education, what will those services look like through MTSS? And then if students enter special education, what do those interventions look like? We next heard that placement decisions sometimes feel top-down. So when we shared the recommendations last year, we shared with you that often staff felt like they would make a decision at the building level and then district office would come in and change that. So as we looked at what we were doing this year, we wanted to make sure that we heard all the voices from our staff and that we are providing information about our continuum of services in special education and how students enter special education, and they have a voice as we develop that. We next heard that co-teaching is inconsistently implemented. So to tackle this, we provided professional development for building leadership related to co-teaching, and we also conducted walkthroughs and instructional rounds with our building leadership and our teachers to make sure that building administration knew what they were looking for. Another piece this we heard were that co-teachers were sort of forced into a partnership and weren't necessarily able to choose who they worked with. So we're addressing those concerns as well. And then finally, we heard that IEP meetings sometimes lack the right voices. As we vetted this, what that meant was, in most cases, there was a multilingual teacher in the IEP meeting for a student who was dually identified, both special education and a multilingual learner. But it wasn't always that student's teacher given the scheduling conflicts and scheduling restraints. So we are making sure that we standardize those special education IEP meeting invite lists to include that student's actual multilingual teacher. So that was an important piece that we heard as well. So what we've accomplished. As I indicated, as we engaged in this process, we started with the staff. So we went to every building, heard from every special education staff member who could attend our meetings to gather feedback, because we needed to hear those voices as we made changes, as we made decisions, and as we considered what the needs were. We next held planning meetings, so we invited staff from elementary and then secondary. They had specific meetings for each of those levels. And at those meetings, we shared with them what we heard in those feedback sessions, the recommendations from CEC, and then we looked at our continuum of services and our eligibility criteria, that it's not something that was only district office, that those staff members also had a say in what that looked like. So co-teaching was an important piece of this, so we next provided professional development for our building leadership, both in co-teaching and overall training in special education, because many of us have been involved in special education, but some of us have not actually been trained in special education, so we made sure that happened for those who hadn't. And then we also conducted instructional rounds so that building administration did rounds with representatives from Catalyst for Educational Change to make sure that they knew what they were looking for and could implement that with fidelity moving forward. So we next looked at our staffing plans. So as we came to you with staffing requests for this school year, we learned from staff that we have certain numbers of students that can be in a classroom, but if you have high need students in those classrooms, sometimes you need more teaching assistants than you have. So after receiving feedback from staff, after collaborating with Earl, we decided that we would add an additional TA to educational life skills and learning appropriate behavior given the needs of the students. That's for the safety of our staff and the safety of our students. So then we also reviewed our placement of students across our continuum of special education services to make sure that we were providing the services that students need, not making the program meet the needs of the students. Then we created a service delivery pathway. So when we say service pathway, that also means continuum of services. And making our continuum of services be more innovative and represent more the needs of our students now than they have in the past. So we also provided increased opportunities for staff to collaborate. So as we had a student moving from the instructional program to the educational life skills program, we would set up either meetings in person or Teams meetings where the sending teacher could provide information about the student to the receiving teachers, but then also the receiving teachers could provide information about the program so that the sending teacher was informed and felt comfortable with where the student was going. In the past, we had not done that. District made the decision and we went with that. But we're now providing staff with a voice on both ends. We collaborated with the multilingual department for dually identified students. So in many cases, high leverage strategies like dual language acquisition design work very well with multilingual learners. It also works very well with special education learners. So we're aligning what we do in both special education and multilingual education. So I talked about the co-teaching walkthroughs that we did with administration to make sure that they knew what they were looking for in special education. We piloted an alternate scope and sequence. In math, we collaborated with the math department to provide students who are learning foundational skills more time to learn those skills. We collaboratively developed a focused workload plan. So Ms. Larson will understand this. You have students who are on your IEP caseload. You also have RTI students. And let's say you have a speech pathologist who can only have 60 students. So they may have 45 IEP students and 15 RTI students. We have to make sure that the work is manageable the good thing is, as we went through that process with Earl leadership, we are staffed well. We don't have concerns, and the initial concern that was would cost additional FTE, and that will not be the case. And then finally, we developed a guidebook for special education and the MTSS process. I talked before about staff being concerned that once students leave special education and go into the MTSS tiers, what does that look like? We've delineated all of those things and also monitoring for MTSS and special education. So we've accomplished a lot this year, and we look forward to the work that we will do next year, and Ms. Strange is going to share that information with us.
Thank you. As we move into the upcoming year, our work in special education will focus on building strong systems that support consistency, clarity, and high-quality services for students across the district. Thank you. These next 6 items are, as Dr. Apgar mentioned, based on the feedback that we got from the CEC, as well as our teachers and staff within special education. We'll begin by finalizing and publishing our service pathway framework, providing IEP teams with clear visual and written tools to guide service decisions. We'll complete our placement guidelines and matrix tools, including entry and exit criteria, a simple team decision-making tool, and training for administrators and case managers to ensure consistent application in IEP meetings. To strengthen alignment, we'll launch an IEP and MTSS crosswalk, providing teams with a clear tool to navigate both processes and ensure shared understanding at the building level. Thank you. We'll prioritize building capacity through professional development focused on progress monitoring, accommodations, and inclusive practices. This learning will be embedded in district-wide professional development with a year-long calendar aligned to our vision and priorities. To improve IEP team functionality, we'll clarify who needs to be at a table, update preparation tools for case managers, and better support meeting readiness. And finally, we'll strengthen communication and transition planning with articulation meetings, new transition planning templates, and a centralized resource hub to ensure staff have timely access to updated guidance. Together, these priorities lay the foundation for sustainable growth, stronger collaboration, and better outcomes for our students. Thank you.
And again, thank you for allowing us to come this evening to share the updates on all the work we've done over the last year to strengthen special education. And we're happy to answer any questions at this time.
Questions from the board?
What's RTI?
Sorry, response to intervention.
Also, if you could just help me, I'm just trying to understand. So, my son has had an IEP all throughout his school career. But how I always pictured an IEP was that's the guide to make sure you're getting the services you need for the student to be successful. What's the difference between, and I just thought MTSS was just another name for getting the services you need to be successful. What's the difference?
So MTSS is a tier of services. There's 3 tiers that students are provided as they present with needs. And some of those interventions may happen at tier 1 where all the students receive those interventions. So what's good for one is good for all. And then if students are not responding to those interventions, then they may need additional time and additional support to address their concerns or the struggles they have. In some cases, those students respond to reading interventions or math interventions, and then they either drop tiers or they drop out of MTSS. But whether it's academic or behavior and students continue to present with needs that they're not responding to, that's the RTI piece of that. So you have MTSS as the process, but RTI is the services. So when those students are not responding to the interventions, then at some point it may be that they require special education services, and then they're referred for a case study evaluation, which can lead to an IEP.
So someone can come in and out of needing an IEP?
They can, students can come in and out of, so MTSS is general education, and an IEP is special education. So students more frequently go in and out of MTSS services than students go in and out of special education services.
I just drew him the triangle and filled it out for you guys.
Mr. Jewett, I think with the MTSS process, typically those are the things that occur prior to getting to the IEP. So you're building up, you're trying, a tier 1 intervention is given most often by the regular teacher in the regular classroom setting, and sometimes that works. But generally speaking, rather than going from, okay, I need support in the classroom, let's do an IEP, it goes through tier 1, tier 2, tier 3 as part of the MTSS process. Once you hit tier 3, and if those aren't working, then maybe the team convenes and we talk about more intensive services, which could be an IEP.
Different question. So one of the questions was around, or one of the challenges was about, oh man, I was like, anyway, I'm going to ask the question, how is mentoring different in the special education department than it is in the rest of the school? Because it felt like there's a disconnect, and that was why I was just curious.
The process is the same. Whether it's special education or general education, the process is the same.
I'm wondering if you're referencing the difference between the co-teaching pairs with the mentors, maybe.
I think so, and I know it's not the same thing, but I'm curious how those things would help. I would think that having a mentor-mentee process would support that, would support the success of the co-teaching pieces, no?
Yes, and I think we have, in partnership with professional learning, have prioritized special ed teachers who are the mentors, who then can support. So knowing if we have a special ed teacher who's a co-teacher, looking at that person as the mentor, because then they can guide and support from that lens.
So I'm just going to throw my 2 cents in here because this is my world that I live in. No. Let me explain. Okay, so there's a general education teacher and a special education teacher that co-teach, let's say, English. Okay, so they're in the classroom together teaching English, and let's say there's upwards of 8 children in there that might have IEPs, which is why you have a co-teacher, because you have X number of students with an IEP. So they're co-teaching together. The special education teacher is the person who is an expert in the IEP'd students and in correct. They have the LBS 1s or LBS 2s. They have their special education degrees. So they can help work with that student better and help the teacher work with them better. Does that make sense? Yep.
So both of those teachers are content experts, but the special education teacher is an expert in strategies to help students who have diverse needs learn.
But those teachers would also have mentors. Sure. So like if it's a new teacher, you'd have a new teacher mentor kind of thing.
Yeah, each one.
Potentially.
Yes, if they were both new, yes.
That was awesome, by the way. I'm like looking at this going, oh, I want to see this. I want to steal some of this stuff. I want to go call my boss about this stuff. That was awesome. And that's a ton of work you guys have done.
Thank you.
So I do have a couple of questions. Okay, thank you. So the special education guidebook, where will that be housed so that people have access to it?
So we share it with all of our special education staff members, but we will house it in the same sort of repositories for our SOPs, so it's easily accessed.
Okay. And then as far as the professional development for administrators to work with special education, is that going to be yearly, or how is that going to be done? Because I don't think it's a one and done thing, I hope.
It is not a one and done. As we go through the process next year, we'll identify the topics that we need to provide for professional development, and we will make sure that those administrators receive that training.
Okay. Especially as we get new administrators in the district.
Absolutely. So this year we focused on the foundational aspects of special education and co-teaching, and moving forward we'll move into more specific instructional strategies for students with special needs.
Okay. And then as far as getting that feedback from teachers that are in the buildings doing this, how are we building to continue that feedback? What does that really look like?
So we plan to develop advisory teams from staff from each of the buildings to make sure that we're receiving that current information. So we receive that information at the start of this school year, but as we go along and we implement change, we'll have an advisory committee to provide feedback to us.
So will that advisory committee from each building get feedback from the buildings directly, or how will they feed that information?
Yeah, yes, they will get feedback from the buildings and then bring it to us. And the individuals who will serve in those committees will be identified from their building administration.
Do you think it'll be as forthcoming from the buildings doing it that way versus maybe a survey?
We can absolutely do surveys in addition. We actually did both this year. So we will do both. We have found that feedback is pretty forthright and genuine.
I would agree that they're very forthright with what they like and what they don't. But I think I don't want to speak for Miss Negrete McGinley, but I think we're talking about more process. What do you like about the process? What do you not? I know the importance of feeling safe, so we just need to make sure we create environments where people can feel like they can share freely.
Yeah, I mean, that is kind of where that is leading to. I think when you have these committees, people be like, well, they're not going to listen to what I'm saying. And they may not be as free to express maybe where we have concerns.
No, I appreciate that. This year, as we've gone throughout this process, on a regular basis, we've checked in with Earl leadership. And Earl leadership both knows what we're hearing and then what they share what they're hearing as well, so that we can work together to meet the needs of staff.
Okay. The review of the student placement matrix, what does that really entail? Like, are we redoing the matrix? Is that what you're ultimately doing?
We are redoing it. Some of it will remain. So you have a continuum of services that goes from consultation services all the way to those students who receive either outplacement services or educational life skills or learning appropriate behaviors. So it's how do students qualify for those services, taking a look at from medical needs, from speech and language, from behavior to academic, and it's looking at all those pieces and coming up with criteria as to how does a student qualify. Because some of the criteria we have, it's all within legal limits, but also like what are we seeing currently from students, and what may we need to change? Do we need to add additional levels? Like you have instructional level, but do we need small group instruction? So it's looking at maybe adding or removing some of those services.
Is this the same matrix so that if I'm a teacher and I see a student maybe who's struggling and maybe needs to get an IEP, is that same matrix? Am I thinking of this correctly?
Yes, it is the same matrix.
Because if I remember correctly from the previous presentation where we kind of saw the warts and everything within our SPED department, I think part of that was maybe they felt they weren't able to fully recognize those students and get services to students. Was that not correct?
I would agree to some degree, but that's why as we go through this process, I gave an example of a student moving from instructional to educational life skills. It's important that we have the teacher's voice who's making the recommendation, the parent's voice who's making the recommendation, and then allowing the teacher who may be sending to communicate with the new program to make sure that everyone has all the information they need to make an informed decision for that student.
Okay, but this is that same matrix. I just wanted to also make sure.
Yes, it's the same matrix.
Okay. So again, if we're changing it, again, we're letting our staff know how these changes are applied and how to interpret them.
Absolutely, and that will be included in the special education guidebook. And we are finalizing that matrix and finalizing our continuum of special education services. And as we do that, staff will both have a voice in what it looks like, but also they'll be informed to make sure that everyone knows what those changes look like.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, I think that covers it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Additional questions? Hearing none. Thank you very much as always.
Thank you.
So should I go on to the next one? All right, so we're gonna kind of couple two items together. Just one thing I want to share is we are not gonna plow through item D. We're not gonna read everything in there. You have seen the updates over the course of the year. We have year-end indicators in terms of progress being made. In response to Mr. Jewett's comment, I think 2 meetings ago, what we tried to do is delineate the things that were falling off the plan. So something can be blue, completed, but it doesn't mean we're not working on it. It just becomes part of our regular daily business. And then there are some things that are green that we need to continue on for like subsequent years. So the team is going to highlight a couple, maybe one to two each. We really want to spend more of our time focused on what's coming next. But we will go ahead and get started. And Heather, Liz is up first. So go ahead, Liz.
Hi there, I'm giving the first update for Theme A. So in terms of designing a new 3-year professional development plan, you've heard a bit about that, and our highlights from this year include providing programmatic PD for our EEC that was based on their needs, 9 days of curricular support for elementary, and the PLC reset at secondary.
So just to be clear, we're on the monitoring document, correct? All right, so we're on item D, is in the packet.
Correct. And as Liz mentioned, she started us off with teaching and learning because if you recall goal 1 and 2, I provided updates last week on where we were at with the curriculum review process. So I wanted to focus tonight just specifically on goal 5 from teaching and learning. It is Jess Crone's world. It is all things college and career readiness. So the work in there, we had 3 particular strategies there. The first one was to make sure that we had the college and career readiness pathways established. So we're really excited that we had 3 pathways approved by ISB this year in medical assistant, in culinary arts, and graphic communications. And then coming up for next year, we'll continue this work looking at an additional pathway in human and public services. Then the second strategy there, strategy B, was to increase the number of dual credit classes, which we did accomplish this year with some additional graphics class, also math and trades. And we'll be continuing that work into next year with some of our education classes. And then strategy C was focusing on making sure that we had a senior exit survey. That was something where we had just not really done great at keeping track with alumni data. So we are excited that we hit 83% of our seniors. Jess is not happy with the number of 83, so I assure you next year it will be even higher. But I think 83% is much higher than what we've historically had, and that is being tracked within school links. So that is a great way for us. The kids have to provide their emails, so we'll continue to be able to be in touch, understanding that we're just kind of getting started on this. So we're excited we have that data to keep moving forward with.
I'm providing a year in review on theme C, social emotional development. So strategy A was to gather staff insight into gaps in addressing social emotional needs. So to do this work, we met with staff individually through the MTSS teams, and we also had them complete a survey. And as they did that, it was identified that the three top skill gaps for students were emotional regulation, executive functioning, and social skills. So next year, we will align the second step curriculum with those skill gaps to make sure that we are bolstering and building those skills that were identified for our students. I'm next going to identify Theme D, Community and School Partnerships. Strategy A was to facilitate parent groups to gain insight into the root cause of absenteeism. And as we have done that, family dynamics, so needs within the family, transportation challenges, and medical health concerns were the top three root causes for absenteeism. When parents say transportation, it's not district transportation. It's for those schools or for those students who are required to walk to school and having transportation concerns. So we will be developing a campaign next year to address attendance, and we'll share more information about that when we do our 25-26 initiatives.
I really like how you did that, Eric, calling out the theme. Let's just pause a little bit so the board can scroll. So if you can just call out the theme and strategy, give the board a quick second to get there on the page and then cover it. So I appreciate it. Yeah, well, I'm doing the same thing, so.
So I'm going to discuss theme E, strategy, goal 1, strategy A and B. Just to highlight that we had done the recruitment and retention presentation last month. That was the culmination of this year's, so you'll notice that it is still on target. It's not completed because we established what it is. Now we're going to start enacting the properties of that and then returning back to you with some information on where we're heading with those pieces, especially questions that you had about systems that we have, things like that. So it is ongoing from that perspective, but if you look at strategy B just below that, that's completed because, as we noted, the professional development really is housed in the professional learning department, and they have really identified a very specific target for PLC and curriculum work this year, so it didn't offer a lot of opportunities for adjustments or personalization as Ms. Stamp had spoken about. They're starting to make some of those adjustments for next year, so that really comes off of our plate here and really centers itself in the professional learning department. So those are my two updates.
I'd like to focus on theme E, securing the future, goal 3. So you'll see, although we've made significant progress on individual system upgrades, HVAC, plumbing, etc., you'll see a number of pending launches. These are actually directly related to all the work that we did at the June 11th. So now we're taking our next step to do all of the different assessments, a roofing assessment, a plumbing, electrical, etc. We did, although, do a number of improvements facility-wise across the district this past year. And then the second one there, strategy B, it's the large expansions. Again, they are very tied together. So what we presented to you on July 11th was the first major step in how do we address our facility needs.
And I will be discussing theme E, goal 2, strategy A. And the finance department has successfully achieved many of its goals this year. We adopted a balanced budget. We were able to maintain 25% or above of our target fund balances. We had long-term capital planning and a board resolution that will be coming in July, where we will actually be designating those funds for coming years, which is a new process. And it's a process designed to help keep us aware of our fund balances and exactly how much we have promised for certain projects. We've taken in diverse revenue streams, including the school breakfast program expansion grant.
And we also have really worked to involve our budget officers or our budget managers this year, having one-on-one meetings with them, and we're planning to also expand that in the coming year, just to make sure that we're not only serving as a support to those individuals, but also making sure that we're all on the same page and working really instead of in silos, budget silos, I'd like to call them, we're working in looking holistically at the budget.
Okay, and I'll go back to theme D, goal 3. And we'll cover strategies B and C. Okay, so B deals with our parent community volunteer program. I think we've just scratched the surface on that this year. We've done some small things, but we have a lot of work to do in that area still. So you will see that on the 25-26 presentation coming up. And then strategy C, we marked it as complete. So the creation of a program and resource development programs for all parent groups. I think one of the things that we've been working hard to do over the last couple of years is make sure that we offer all of our parent sessions in both languages. So the scheduled sessions that we have, usually those Friday, some Saturday events, Maria Kalunga, our parent outreach and engagement specialist, one of them, has done a lot of great work in this area, making sure that it is provided in both languages for our families.
Is that it? So we're happy to answer any questions. The one thing I do want to say is the one thing I'm very proud of is we work the plan. Our strategic, it's my fourth and last district, and I know that we use this. We're talking about these things every week, every single week. If we're focused on too much, we don't really have any focus. And I'm very, very proud to say we use this plan to drive our decisions, to drive where we're spending our time, assessing progress. And I think, frankly, one of the best things we ever did was move the updates to monthly. I can't remember how long we've been doing that, but it's been years and years. It wasn't like that before. So happy to answer any questions before we get to the 25-26 strategic plan initiatives.
I do have a question. So the ones that Dr. Schuth was mentioning under his, that kind of moved to PD. Yeah. So the two that you mentioned are completed, but moved under professional learning. Did I understand that right?
Two are not completed. The first one is still on target, in progress. That was strategy A and strategy B. I'm trying to get that loaded back up on my screen.
Your theme or
Who's theme E, securing the future?
hold on, let me go back as well.
You're speaking about strategy B.
Strategy
when you
B,
get there.
yes,
Offers
strategy
comprehensive
B.
professional development programs tailored to the needs and aspirations of staff members. That was assigned to me, but in consultation with the professional learning department. This current year, it was completed because it was determined that PD was already determined for the year. But going into next year, they're going to make some adjustments to allow for that flexibility as she presented in her presentation tonight.
Yeah, so I guess my question is it really completed or did it move over?
It's both, but it's moved over. It as far as whether it's in the strategic plan anymore, that would be under anything that Ms. Stamp would.
Right, I guess because when I look at this, when I see completed, it's done, but it's not really done, it was moved over. Did I understand that correctly?
Yeah, it's just a different interpretation of completed.
But there are opportunities where the way that it's worded in the strategies for this year might be like maybe we were creating something and then the implementation, it might be written in that way the following year. I'm not saying that is the case in this situation, but something could be marked as complete and be rewritten for the next year as the next stage of that strategy.
Right, but if I'm understanding this one correctly, it was literally shifted over though. Yes?
So isn't there an adjusted
So,
fee option or something? Like on the drop down, we can change it to adjusted or something. I mean, I
Yeah.
know what your point is.
yeah, because it's not completed. Adjusted, yes, but it's not completed.
Understood. I saw it as completed in my tasks. Yeah.
Yeah. But for us, as we track, it's not completed.
We'll make that adjustment. We'll make the adjustment to adjusted.
I mean, I'm sorry, does that make sense? Sure. Right, exactly. It's a tool for the board as well. It's not just for you, yeah. So, thank you.
On board.
So if I'm not hearing anything else, is the board okay with us moving to the slide deck, which is
Please.
next?
Okay, so just like last year, we each have kind of assigned slides. So we'll kind of bop around here. So first, we'll kind of go quickly through the start of this, but just a reminder to the public, this is our current mission, core values and beliefs. And then we move into the definitions of the areas that we identified as part of the portrait of a graduate under inspire, engage, empower, and thrive. And we'll move right into theme A, teaching and learning.
Okay, so teaching and learning goal 1 is to continue to implement and monitor curriculum. We're just making a shift. This goal was completed this past year in regards to elementary curriculum implementation, but moving into the future, this coming year we have a lot of implementation that will be at the middle school level. So we're continuing with that strategy A where we're implementing new curriculum, and we're going to continue moving forward to implement and monitor. So you'll see a lot of the same models we used this year, but we have new curriculum. So we decided to keep this goal in place with the same exact strategies. Then we have goal 2, which was an actual bit of change here because goal 2 from the previous one was creating the curriculum adoption cycle and process, and that is complete. So for the teaching and learning world, we thought it was really important now that we have a curriculum adoption process in place to really focus our efforts on improving instruction, knowing obviously our end goal focus is improving student achievement. So there are a variety of strategies here from a district level in partnership with building administration, where we will be working on developing just kind of a system-wide look at how to improve instruction.
All right, so this is another wording shift. So we are past the design and create phase and in the implement phase with a 3-year professional development plan. It's designed to support strategies that include increasing student achievement, increasing rigor and high quality instruction, raising expectations, cultural competency, and social emotional health for students and staff. So it's a fairly wide umbrella. And the strategies here are essentially a deep dive into instructional coaching, which can achieve all of those things listed at the elementary level, and then going deeper into professional learning communities at the secondary level.
Goal 4 here is a goal where we have a lot of kind of room for where we can focus our efforts, and we decided this coming into this next year that were really excited with the work that Casey Kurtz had implemented with our district stakeholder advisory group, and we really want to continue to build off of that and look at ways where we can get even more involvement with students and community members, parents, and so on. So we're going to continue to develop that process and move that even further than we did this year. That's why I grabbed my computer so I could try to see when am I coming, when am I going. So this one is again continuing our work in the world of college and career readiness. So we're going to continue down the work of the college and career pathway endorsements to maintain the 3 that I mentioned we had already had got approval on for this year, and then we will be adding another one next year in human and public services. And then strategy B there is to establish a pilot program for an essential employability skills curriculum to support using community organizations. There's some work that we've already done on the ground with that a little bit already this year, and we wanted to build that out much for many more students in the future.
So as I just shared in the presentation, last year we provided professional development on co-teaching, and next year we're going to provide professional development related to instructional practices. In Ms. Negretti McGinley, that will also include administration, so they will be involved in that as well. And then building on the work that we have done this year to build out the pathways or continuum of services, we will continue to work on that and finalize it, given staff input and administration.
All right, this goal is in specific our work around MTSS, and one of our strategies for this year was to do just a review of our Tier 2 and Tier 3 intervention resources, so that has been completed. So at this point, we need to adopt and deploy any new resources, and then obviously continue with the resources that we've chosen to continue with in regards to supporting progress monitoring across all schools. Another strategy will be to provide specific and targeted professional development for staff. There are varying needs across the different levels. And also even I think a question that came from Ms. Negretti McGinley in regards to like what do we do when we onboard new staff? We have a lot of new elementary, especially administrators coming in. So there's some PD that we have to make sure that we provide in that area as well. And then finally establishing district MTSS leadership team. We've done a great job with elementary and kind of keeping them as a team, but we'd like to create and establish more of a district-wide system for what's the data that we're looking at across all levels. So that'll be one of our strategies for next year. Multilingual is new for me this year, yay. So in regards to multilingual student education, we're looking to continue to review curriculum and programming as we did with elementary, but we'll continue to provide targeted PD, pre-K through 12. In regards to affected by literacy instructional strategies, we're continuing that partnership with the Adelante consultant agency that we work with. And then strategy B, continue to develop and implement a comprehensive plan to establish effective dual language program moving into the secondaries. As you know, we start in 6th grade this year.
So as we consider this goal, we will continue to focus on efforts to improve behavior and reduce major referrals and recidivism. This school year, Ellis Elementary and Round Lake Middle School showed a decline in their behavior. Murphy stayed even compared to last school year. All the other schools increased. That's not necessarily a bad thing. One of the things we've really focused on was student behavior over the last couple of years based on staff feedback from the surveys we received, and we have received a lot of positive feedback. So it's one of those things what you focus on at some point may increase. So that's why we're going to continue to focus our efforts on restorative practices, reducing major behavior, and improving behavior district-wide. So as I shared in the last presentation, we identified that emotional regulation, executive functioning, and social skills are gaps that students are presenting in their overall social emotional skills. So we will utilize the second step curriculum to align and address those skill gaps. And we will also continue to implement the second step curriculum. We were able to build out more time for that to occur at the elementary level, so that will be a focus for this coming school year.
Okay, next up is goal 2. I'll cover for Mr. King. It deals with the offering a variety of sports and extracurricular activities. So we will be working this year to enhance student voice, continue to enhance student voice in program planning, removing participation barriers, and launching a new mentoring program that will pair our high school students with Indian Hill through the Big Brothers Big Sisters program, and also taking steps to either create an expansion of our allied program. We've had some very preliminary conversations about that, to expand that to other grade levels in the district, or perhaps creating some partnership with the Special Olympics program. So Mr. Dewitt has had some participation in those conversations so far, so we're looking forward to next steps there. And then the next deals with continuing to enhance the positive relationships and the culture across the district. So we will continue this work. I think this is one that just is ongoing, and we are continuing to build the relationships that we have with our parents and our community, and engaging in the educational process. And one of those areas this year that's been highlighted multiple times is through that stakeholder advisory group that we started this year.
Goal number 4 is the work that we've been doing in the Wellness Committee, and we're going to be building upon that process into this next year, where we've created those coaches and captains within each area. We're going to have different events going on in the buildings throughout the year with themes, monthly themes that are based off of the 8 dimensions of wellness. And we're going to kickstart all of that with our wellness event on October 10th. And then finally adding on to that, because of the work that we're starting with the Happiness Advantage, looking for ways to incorporate that process as we begin learning about it in our subsequent trainings.
So as I spoke before, the root causes of absenteeism are family concerns, transportation, and medical and health concerns. So we're going to develop campaigns to address these root causes. The idea would be to strive for 95, so every student would strive for 95% attendance. In addition, we would be developing plans for those students who do not meet our expectations. So what does their attendance look like? Who are those students? Building a positive school culture where they want to come to school and want to be engaged in part of that school culture. Engaging families so that they understand that attendance is important and how can they be a partner with us. And then individualize the student interventions to meet their needs to be able to come to school.
Okay, next is effective communication. This is one I think we'll always have on, and there is always work to be done in this area. This year we're going to take a hard focus on the creation of standard operating procedures in the communications department. And also we have, it sounds like we have a lot to be communicating about. It's really to facilities this year. So building out a very thorough plan on how we are messaging this information out to the larger community. Okay, and then again, some of these crossover. So the engagement of parents in the educational process, again, focusing more on the the stakeholder advisory group. And also spoke with Casey Kurtz briefly today. We have some ideas on how we might be able to better create the Title I Required Parent Advisory Committee, PAC. As you know, BPAC has been in place for many years. They have a great structure, but Parent Advisory Committee has not really launched the way that we would like it to. And the purpose really appears to be really heading in the right direction, both of them, like the same direction. So are there ways that we can actually combine those groups, given the fact that we have a really strong base to participation in the stakeholder advisory group so far? Okay, and then enhancing public perception. We've come a long way with this. I'd like to say we're very close to, I think, revising the way that this goal is written. As you know, we've spent some time this year again working with local realtors, and this year I'd like to expand that focus really particularly in the area of our villages and our mayors and trustees, especially those that are new to their position. So I think that will really help us take even more steps forward in this direction.
Okay, so for securing the future in goal 1, this is building upon what we've done in our Grow Your Own programs, that we're going to continue to work with those partnerships and develop additional partnerships. Our second strategy is a new one to focus on creating virtual and in-person recruitment opportunities that target high needs areas. And then finally, the development of those partnerships with area universities to create that pipeline for student teachers, interns, and those types of positions that gear towards hiring them at the end of their opportunities.
And as it relates to Goal 2 remains the same from last year to this year. However, we have incorporated some new strategies. So A is to utilize a multi-year financial forecasting tool, which we will be presenting at least once a year to the finance and board. Ensuring transparent goal-driven budget process, as well as monitoring our financial performance through monthly reviews with our budget officers. That's going to be key again in supporting them and making sure we're looking at our budget as a whole. And finally, to continue to seek grants and alternative funding sources for our capital needs, as well as collaborating with our auditors and the rest of our staff to strengthen financial controls.
So we're carrying over this, the work of this goal based upon the direction we received from the Board of Education. We now know the types of assessments we need to continue, as well as architectural and engineering work that we need to secure. So we'll be focusing on those assessments and developing additional scenarios for the Board of Education.
The school is also continuing, focusing on the benefits of being in a unit district structure. So the strategies will continue to facilitate collaboration among staff members within and across grade levels and schools, and then also facilitate vertical and horizontal articulation meetings. And those are really in specific, I think, curriculum, but it's definitely also some of the work that Dr. Apgar talked about in regards to special education or MTSS programming. Like I mentioned, we really try to make sure programming gets aligned across all levels.
Our department is excited to build on the successes of this past year. First, we'll support the creation of an enterprise dashboard by providing access to strategic data housed in our student information system to our new enterprise dashboard partner, Schoolytics. Second, our 8-member technology steering committee, formed last year, will continue driving key district-wide technology initiatives similar to the AI guidance and the enterprise dashboard initiatives the committee drove this year. Lastly, we'll build on the great work we've already done to continue strengthening our data security and privacy practices by updating student privacy standards, as well as continuing to invest in our cybersecurity infrastructure, which will be aided by the nearly $270,000 we received in E-rate funding this past year. Our educational technology department will focus on launching the innovation team and building team capacity throughout the course of the year. Second, they'll also launch a new teacher EdTech coaching and onboarding framework model, which they'll support throughout the course of the year. And lastly, building on the AI guidance, they'll focus on rolling out AI task force needs assessment and responsible adoption of AI across the district throughout the course of the year.
And last up is safety. So we continue to prioritize safety by collaborating with schools on updated procedures and best practices, launching a new threat assessment process, which really began this year, and the improving building access systems to enhance physical security across all campuses.
And then just a gentle reminder to the board, if I believe it was the last one was Ms. Kurtz here doing the revised IR. Was that the last meeting? So there'll be one more student achievement presentation back when the school report card comes out. So that I just wanted to remind you, the one thing I want to keep talking about, because it's hard at this level, we talk a lot about compliance and board policy and these other things, but our primary mission, you all know this, is student achievement, student outcomes, and I really appreciated the discussion that happened at the last facility meeting. Is kind of second half of it was focused more on programming, and every single thing we do here, the driver is student outcomes. That's really what we're trying to do. Regardless of department, we're all here to improve student learning, student programming. And it's nice when we actually have some time to kind of go through some of the things that we're doing to improve our student outcomes. So we're happy to answer any questions you have.
Do you see the work or the development of the Happiness Advantage, that initiative, becoming part of PD, or do you think it trying to figure out how to integrate it into, how do you see it integrating? Yeah, how do you see it integrating into the district?
So I can tell you what the vision is. I'm the one that started this process. Heather and I went, we saw it. That really is the umbrella of everything we're working on. We have to start with the leadership team. It needs to be organic, and I'm going to talk about that a little bit in my superintendent's report. But we do have association support with this. So it will be almost like this multi-tier, multi-level overtime process of getting that embedded into everything we do. So when I look at the team out here, we need to get to a point where initiatives, structures, conversations with individual people are aligned to those happiness principles, because otherwise what are we doing it for? But it's, I'm not suggesting, you all have busy lives and everything, but it's really about forming the right habits. And it needs to start with the leaders. So the leaders are going to be the ones that have this. I do envision it getting down all the way to the teacher level and kind of having expectations about this is just who we are. This is how we do business. This is how we conduct ourselves. Because at the end of the day, if you think about what you heard tonight, we are adopting curriculum. We are providing professional development. We are providing instructional. Every single elementary teacher in our district is going to be on a coaching cycle that's not evaluative in nature. Nobody's doing that stuff. So at the end of the day, we're doing all that work, but the bottom line is always comes down to the people and how we are interacting. I mean, my mind is going so fast right now. Dr. Apgar just talked about attendance and barriers. Without question, an adult's interaction and the relationship that they forge with students absolutely impacts attendance and that student's ability to want to come to school. And we just need to get to a point where, I would just say, as collectively as a profession, we're finding joy in the work. Because I see that wane. And I think that approach as serving as the overarching umbrella to all the work we're doing is kind of the recipe we need. So I think it's a long answer to a very short question. It's yes to both of what you said. It's being embedded by all of the leaders in their departments, but not top down. You're involving people, because those happiness principles, they're being burned into my brain. There might be some departments that need to focus on some more than others. Then you go to a school, it might be this grade level needs to focus on these 2 or 3 as opposed to these other ones. So it is individual based, and the beauty of it is it actually helps you with your personal life, not just the work life. So if you really get into those and look, we're doing a book study right now. Every cabinet member is leading a book study with every single administrator in the district. And I'm finding myself incorporating some of these strategies into my regular life. so we can provide more joy and happiness, which all the data says a more optimistic, joyful employee actually yields better outcomes. And that's what we're trying. So.
Embarking in culture work is, it can take a bit, and it can be transformational. And yeah, so I appreciate your answer, and I'm also curious how you're going to show how it's filtering in through the rest of, how it is actually infiltrating the rest of the system. So you don't even have to answer any of that. I'm just.
No, we will be back with more information, more to come.
I do have a question. Under Teaching and Learning Thrive, I know it's Dr. King's slide. Thinking back to the strategic plan that was shared, it talks about reaching out to around like alumni. How far back are we talking about going? I'm assuming this ties to the one in the strategic plan.
Based on my understanding, and I can definitely ask more questions and get back to you with Jess Crone, but our goal right now is to start establishing a portal of like current students so that we could continue then to reach out to alumni. So creating, like I said, that exit survey. So we have seniors from this year, but how to get connections from, I'll have to ask her if there were other items or strategies that they put in place beyond the current, future alumni.
Current meaning like you're going back the last 2-3 years? Just this last class?
Yeah, literally just this, like establishing and making sure that there was a survey, an exit survey was the goal for this year, so that we would every year after that be able to reach out. But I can ask Jess if there were additional things outside of that strategy of creating the exit survey and school links, if there's any other ways that the school counseling, the high school counseling department, or even potentially the athletic department, like are there ways that we already have in place? But I know it's been a constant struggle, so systematizing it and putting a survey into school links was priority, but I honestly can get back to you on that.
Yeah, I guess, because as an alumni, when you put reaching out to around like alumni, my whole family's alumni of this district. I think how are we reaching out? How are we going to start tracking that? Or actually, where is our starting point?
Yeah, I'll definitely look into that and get back to you.
Okay, thank you.
Additional questions from the board? All right. Hearing none, we will now transition to the CEDAW Governing Board recap.
All right, so in the last board meeting, CEDAW meeting, we ended up going over a few things. One of the things in the packet, you will see the audit for 2023. So yes, making progress, both the audit and the summary. They're in the middle of getting 2024 done. So it's becoming on track, which is really positive. I gotta tell you, this one was pretty uneventful in terms of from board meetings, which was spectacular. I think Julie's locked up. Also, what went over were the SIP goals for 24-25, and went over the progress for those. And those, some parts of this, the SIP goals are completed at 100%, and others are about 70%, but there seems to be really good progress. Yeah, it seems to be really good progress with the team. So I'm really encouraged by what I am hearing and seeing from this time around.
And just to add to what Mr. Jewett said, I don't know if you're aware, but Judy Hackett is one of our interim co-superintendents, just got invited to participate on the Illinois State Board of Education. She's going to do both. You can do both, but CEDAW's in the right hands now, and I'm very confident, being on the executive board, that we're going to find somebody really good to be the permanent replacement.
thank you for having those attachments.
Any additional questions for Mr. Jewett? All right, hearing none. Next up is the FOIA report. Any questions from the board as to what was presented? Hearing none. Next up then we'll go to review contracts less than 1,000. Any questions from the board in regards to the one contract under 1,000?
No questions, but if I could just add, please, this was also on the finance agenda. And it's a contract, as you'll see, for standing operating procedures. It's going through the finance department first, but I wanted to add that a question came up at finance, because obviously we're always talking about standard operating procedures for the district as a whole. So finance will be piloting this program, and hopefully if it's worthy, then we'll bring it through the district as well, because obviously we want to be uniform through the district. So I just wanted to add that.
Perfect. Hearing no more conversation on that, we will move to public comment. As always, members of the public who participate in public comment during regular board meetings by attending in person or submitting electronic public comment form. Please note the speakers are limited to 3 minutes. Electronic public comments are accepted up until noon on the day of the regularly scheduled meeting, and the public commenter is contacted to confirm identity. Once confirmed, electronic public comment is provided to all board members in written form. A link to the electronic public comment form is online. We did not have any electronic public comment, and we no longer have any public. So we will move on to the superintendent's report.
Thank you, Board President Francisco and Board of Education. This year we launched targeted professional development to support our kindergarten teachers and certified support staff in training grounded in play-based developmentally appropriate practices. Through a partnership with our state KIDS, Kindergarten Individual Development Survey Coach, teachers attended professional development sessions during school improvement days, focusing on developmentally appropriate practice. These sessions emphasize joyful, strength-based learning that supports the whole child's development through play and inquiry. Beginning next year, kindergarten teachers will implement DAP strategies 2 to 3 times per week. By the way, board, that's a best practice. Just want to reaffirm. During social studies blocks, using inquiry bins and thematic units to foster communication, collaboration, and problem-solving skills through play-based exploration of civic and social concepts. This important work will continue next year through ongoing school improvement day training and individualized coaching support from our KIDS coach. This sustained effort will help us strengthen our kindergarten programming and ensure developmentally aligned learning experience for our youngest students. Next Tuesday, a team of district administrators and leaders from the Education Association of Round Lake will attend the Happiness Advantage Orange Frog Workshop in Schaumburg. I'll talk about the Orange Frog in a second. This professional learning opportunity aligns with our district's interest in embedding the principles of the Happiness Advantage into our culture. The workshop is designed to support our efforts in fostering increased optimism and engagement, strengthening school and workplace culture, reducing staff burnout and turnover, and ultimately driving improved outcomes for our students. Participants have been fully briefed on how this work can enhance connection and well-being across our schools, and we look forward to applying key takeaways to support our staff and students. So we got you as a school board the Happiness Advantage. The Orange Frog is a parable. It's another book that ties directly to the Happiness Advantage. And if you'd like, I can see if I can get copies. You can't actually order that on Amazon. You have to get it directly from the provider, but I'll see if I can get that for you. This morning, Heather Bennett and I had an opportunity to meet with newly elected mayor of Round Lake, Brian Brubaker. It was a very positive and productive conversation that opened the door for continued collaboration between the village and the school district. We look forward to building on the connection and supporting one another in ways that benefit the entire Round Lake community. We intend on holding a similar meeting with the new mayor of Round Lake Park in the near future. And last but isn't listed, I'd like to just say that Mr. Francisco did an exceptional job of representing the school district at the Ed Red Mini Summit. He served on a panel of board members. I think there were three. You had the board president from District 214. You had the, obviously Mr. Francisco is there. Who's in the middle? What board? Oh, Bill Harrison from Wheeling, District 21. And it was moderated by Carla Owen, who just got off the board in the main township high school district. It's very, very clear. We have a really, really good board that understands governance. And I was in there obviously supporting Mr. Francisco, but I wanted to say he did a great job of representing the school district. That concludes the superintendent's report.
Any questions for Dr. Mendoza? Hearing none, thank you. And we will now move to Finance Committee update.
Thank you. Yes, Finance Committee met earlier today. On our agenda, we had am I saying that right? Tess parent meeting. This was also discussed at the community engagement. This will help us streamline parent conferences. They will be doing SOPs, we review the contract, and as far as implementing this new program, we asked about getting feedback from teachers because parents will be able to elect virtual or in person. So this is going to be a little bit of a toggling with the teachers doing in person and virtual. So we really want to know how they're able to implement this, and of course anything they might come across as kind of move more digital with parent-teacher conferences or those parents that elect that. So we just want to make sure we survey those teachers and get their feedback with this new software, because it may realign some of the standard operating procedures, or it could, depending on that feedback. But again, it'll be a new tool, and it'll give some options for those parents who maybe have a hard time getting here in person and have that opportunity to still meet with their students, teachers virtually. Next, we have school safety bollards. Those are like Target. They have the big red circles in front of the store. We're talking about them in our schools. Most recently was Beach School. As you know, for the homecoming parade, we do a lot of staging, and there's areas where some safety concerns have come in. But in conversation at finance, as we also had recently the meeting on Wednesdays regarding facilities and where that might drive. So this will kind of, we're going to roll that into that, have the architects look at it, because other schools such as Indian Hill and Ellis have asked for the bollards regarding safety and students with the walking areas, because the cars get so close to the students and the schools themselves. So we thought with the direction that we've kind of given administration, we should roll that in and do a full assessment on the entire district, and not just those schools that maybe we see now that poses some areas of concern. Let's review the entire district. So that will come back. Next, we had quite a few housekeeping items within the finance area. Starting with resolution regarding the designation of depositories and signatures with Ms. Aimsole. I want to say doctor, but it's not. Sorry, my apologies. This is again more housekeeping, naming those financial institutions. This is something that the board has done previously. Next was our investment report. Again, as you recall, we have State Bank of the Lakes and PMA. So again, looking at those institutions, we are currently getting the highest rate from State Bank of the Lakes. Also, it leaves our funds more liquid, which we like at this point and need. So pretty much staying status quo of those institutions that we're utilizing. Ms. Aimsole did reach out to PMA to see, maybe moving, but again, because it would really tie up our funds, it wouldn't be as liquid. We're going to stay as we are. Next was the GASB 87 and 96 fund balance. This is a little bit of a change, more procedural change, not any policy change. In the reclassification of existing budget expenditures. Sorry, I guess it's getting late for me. Regarding lease payments, and then also currently our auditors make some of those adjustments for us. We wait for the auditors to do it. So again, this is where that procedure change comes. We're going to do that in-house. We're not wait for our auditors, which I think that's a fantastic idea. We should be doing that anyway and not reliant on our auditors to do this. This will give us more transparency and we'll know where those funds lie. So I think this is great. Next is capital projects fund balance. Again, if you recall, and I forget the exact meeting, but Dr. Lamping gave us the projects for this summer. Projects which included baseball, softball, the elevator, so on and so forth. So again, it's just those total transfer of funds. And again, we've had a little bit of expansion on those projects with some RTUs. And then next is, which kind of brings us into the resolution authorizing interest transfer. Again, moving that money into Fund 60, kind of building that balance again so we know where those monies lie and we can kind of build a little bit for some of those expenditures like an RTU that has come up this year. So we know exactly where our fund balances sit. As I talked to Ms. Amesole, I keep a running total in my head, but this will help the board also see the true picture as you look at those reports. So again, great changes that are coming, so I do appreciate that. Included is the 3-year registration fee report. Again, in that meeting Wednesday with facilities, the finance has asked for this for a couple years. We've been wanting to see that trend data of our families, fees that we've collected are waived, so on and so forth. If you look at what's in there, again, you will see within this last year, it's the highest year. It's almost the highest year that we've had waived. But if you look at that, 24, was the highest year waived. So again, as we had those conversations regarding facility and what we can do to help our community, you can see that data here that will support what we spoke of. You'll see the informational items, just so you know, again, just as a gentle reminder, last month we didn't have the P. Carter Treasurer's Report due to the conversion to the new Skyward Q. So that's why you see both April and May in the agenda there. And then I spoke regarding that contract under 1,000. Any questions or anything you want to add, Mr. DeVera? Any questions?
Any questions for the Finance Committee? As always, thank you for the detail and consideration. Hearing none, we will move to approval of meeting minutes.
All right, I need a motion to approve the June 2nd, 2025 regular board meeting minutes.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Jewett, seconded by Ms. Lee. Roll call, please.
Mr. DeVera?
Yes.
Mrs. Negretti McGill?
Yes.
Mr. Jewett?
Yes.
Mrs. Larson?
Yes.
Mr. Francisco?
Yes.
Ms. Lee?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Need a motion to approve the June 3rd, 2025 special board meeting expulsion hearing at 6 p.m.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Mr. DeVera, seconded by Ms. Lee. Roll call, please.
Mr. DeVera?
Yes.
Mrs. Negretti McGinley?
Yes.
Mr. Jewett?
Abstain.
Mrs. Larson?
Yes.
Mr. Francisco?
Yes.
Ms. Lee? Yes.
Motion carries.
I need a motion to approve the June 3rd, 2025 special board meeting expulsion hearing at 7 p.m.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Mr. DeVera, seconded by Ms. Lee. Roll call, please.
Mr. DeVera?
Yes.
Mrs. Negretti McGinley?
Yes.
Mr. Jewett?
Abstain.
Mrs. Larson?
Yes.
Mr. Francisco?
Yes.
Ms. Lee? Yes.
Motion carries.
I need a motion to approve the June 3rd, 2025 special board meeting minutes, expulsion hearing at 8 p.m.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Tavera, second by Ms. Lee. Roll call, please.
Mr. Tavera?
Yes.
Mrs. Negrete McGinley?
Yes.
Mr. Jewett?
Abstain?
Mrs. Larson?
Yes.
Mr. Francisco?
Yes.
Miss Lee?
Yes.
Motion carries. And that brings us to the old business, which is our board superintendent communications expectations. Again, this is our annual review and reaffirmation thereof. Did anybody have any questions, concerns, conversation? Hearing none.
All right, I need a motion to approve the board superintendent communication expectations, mutual agreement, and social media agreement.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Jewett, seconded by Ms. Lee. Roll call, please.
Mr. Tavera?
Yes.
Mrs. Negrete McGinley?
Yes.
Mr. Jewett?
Yes.
Mrs. Larson?
Yes.
Mr. Francisco?
Yes.
Miss Lee? Yes.
And motion carries. And that will bring us to positive occurrences. I'll start at, the Ed Red mini summit. We already heard about it, so thank you for that recap. Excellent. Any-
Summer break. It's summer break.
I went to the community's LGBTQ celebration in Round Lake Beach, and it was wonderful, and there were tons of families there, and it was really well done this year.
And we saw them when they came in, but I was able to attend on Sunday the actual Boy Scout Awards ceremony for all of those Eagle Scout awards. So I was able to be there for that, and it's just that was really, really great, just because all of them are 116 students, and it's just a great seeing the activity and seeing the positiveness being done into the community. All right, hearing nothing else there, we'll move on to future agenda items. Hearing none, next up would be approval of closed session minutes.
I need a motion to approve the closed session meeting minutes of May 19th, 2025, regular board meeting.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Jewett, seconded by Mrs. Larson. Roll call, please.
Mr. Tavera?
Yes.
Mrs. Negrete McGinley?
Yes.
Mr. Jewett?
Yes.
Mrs. Larson?
Yes.
Mr. Francisco?
Yes.
Miss Lee?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Need a motion to approve the closed session meeting minutes of May 22nd, 2025, special board meeting expulsion hearing 6 p.m.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Ms. Larson, seconded by Miss Lee. Roll call, please.
Mr. Tavera?
Yes.
Mrs. Negrete McGinley?
Yes.
Mr. Jewett?
Abstain.
Mrs. Larson?
Yes.
Mr. Francisco?
Yes.
Miss Lee?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Need a motion to approve the closed session meeting minutes of May 22nd, 2025, special board meeting expulsion hearing at 7 p.m.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Ms. Larson, seconded by Miss Lee. Roll call, please.
Mr. Tavera?
Yes.
Mrs. Negrete McGinley?
Yes.
Mr. Jewett?
Abstain?
Mrs. Larson?
Yes.
Mr. Francisco?
Yes.
Miss Lee?
Yes.
Motion carries. And that will bring us to adjournment at 9:33 p.m. Thank you very much, one and all, and have a great evening.